has tickets for you and more for you to take, okay? All right, and so now, we're gonna have a pretty, quick evening tonight. This meditation be sealed with goodness. This meditation be sealed with goodness, faith, love, and happiness. Okay, all right. So, Jamal, when you step outside, if you guys wanted any tickets, if you signed up for them, he has them. You can step outside and you can pick them up, and he will be more than willing to give it to you. All right? Go right ahead. Quietly, come right on back in. We will go ahead and let our officers to give their reports. One, go ahead and get started.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Ellie Joseph.
No, I got it already.
Of course, Police Department, I am over operations, midnight, from 5 p.m. to about 4:30 in the morning. So I don't believe I've been to a meeting. I think the last time I was looking, I was actually in this community enrichment team.
Yeah,
So I know you've been hosting these meetings for a very long time. But just some updates, as you guys know, we are preparing for Jazz in the Gardens. And some of the things that we are focusing on, we actually had a meeting today. We're focusing on not only the safety on the inside, but definitely safety on the outside. One of the things that we're always talking about is the traffic. We know that traffic sometimes can be an issue, and so just making sure we have the officers outside, we have the eyes and ears on the ground if there is anything that is needed. We want you all to feel free. There's going to be a lot of officers working, not only just patrol, but also Jazz in the Gardens inside and outside. And so if there's anything that's going on that night, feel free, of course, to call 911. But there's going to be a lot of officers on the ground that you will be able to possibly flag down if there are issues. Also, we know that there is a lot of things happening in other countries right now with Iran, and that does, it can possibly affect us. So we've already been having meetings. Right now, we have the 9th crew that's having roll call. Normally, if I was here, that's where I would have been. I've already instructed the sergeants to make sure that we have officers that are vigilant. You should see the officers at night with their lights on, driving up and down. We know that we have the Lubavitch School, we have the mosque, so we are aware we're keeping an eye out in different areas. And we have officers coming in additionally from overtime to make sure that we're not only just answering the call for service, but safety, we're making sure that everyone is safe. So basically, overall, when we look at the crime, it's great for us to be able to say that right now we see the numbers has constantly been going down. There's a lot of things that we are implementing in the police department. Even during the day, the officers are expected to keep their lights on because we are aware that some of the vehicles are white. It's hard to see the markings. So, and the police vehicles are especially supposed to be there to deter crime. So the lights are on even during the day, and some of you might see it and wondering why the officers driving around with their lights on. They're not always going to a call, but we want the community to see that the officers are there. Yes, and besides the officers working patrol, we have the community action team. This is a separate unit. They come in during midday and they stay overnight, and they have special tasks that they are going around. Like, for example, we have our what's called a ComStat report. In that report, we're able to see what areas have been hit with certain things, and so they go and they saturate the area. I don't know if you all have any questions for me concerning things that you have noticed or anything that you want me to take up and bring back to the team. As far as nighttime, there's a certain area where you're seeing certain things, activity. You all can, I'll step outside. I don't want to interrupt your meetings. They can come outside and let me know. I can write down the address if there's something, because we know with these meetings, they're very important because sometimes you may not be able to call 911 or want to call, but when you see us, feel free to definitely let us know what the area of your concern and what you feel can better help as far as getting officers out there. Because we have officers in uniform, and then a lot of times you may see vehicles that are driving, they're officers too. Because we have officers that drive unmarked vehicles, in special assignments, especially right now with everything happening. Pretty much it's all hands on deck for making sure that everyone is safe, and we do what we have to do when we have it. God forbid. So any questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Basically, I know there's a lot of things going on in the world. Is there something in place that God forbid if something happens, us as residents know how to get in contact with you, or you guys, come and do wellness checks on everybody to make sure that, everybody's okay? How does
That work? Okay, so we're actually right now making sure that everyone is up to date. We have what's called the incident command system. It's a nationwide system to make sure that law enforcement are trained if anything happens. So for example, I have my certification, so it's not just based on if something major happened, we use it overall. So something happens, God forbid right now, the first thing we do is lock up the area. Lock up the area, we have a public information specialist. And I don't know if you guys are following us on social media. If anything happens, the message is put out on social media. Definitely the city side. I'm part of the email blast, so anything that's happening, the city sends out emails. But we are trained, we lock up the area, we set an inner and outer perimeter. We have officers that are specialized in the drone. We have cameras everywhere, and so the whole world is coming. And this is training that we have to attend, we have to get certified, and whenever, for example, tonight, you have the officers working, you have sergeants working, and then you have a captain. So you have different layers. If anything happens, we all have our special training to make sure. But if anything happens and I'm not present, the sergeants have been trained to know to lock the area, put the information out. Phone calls will be made up to the chief, and then the chief starts to update the council, the mayor, everyone. So as far as communication is always going up and coming back down. So if anything happens, know that we all have been trained to make sure that the community is updated through social media, through email blasts, and information is put out there. Okay. But we have resources, we have training, our officers go through plenty of training to make sure that we do what we need to do if anything happens.
Thank you.
One of the things I do want to say is, it seems like COVID was yesterday, but it was a significant amount of time, 92 came yesterday. We took this whole shutdown of our country. And we had to start with a whole new set of protocols, everything that we did. Whether it was wearing masks, putting on gloves, we were shut down, we couldn't go into certain places. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, we've never experienced wartime. We don't know what it's like to have bombs dropped on our cities. We don't know what it's like to actually be shut down because we've been invaded by a foreign country. And now there were unique things that we've not had before, and that is to have our bank accounts frozen, to have an attack as it relates to cyber attacks. Follow what I'm saying? That could shut us down in different ways. But what I am comfortable of is that just because we haven't done it before, it doesn't mean that we won't develop what we need to protect ourselves, to guard our residents, our citizens, and to do the kind of work that we need to be able to do. But just like with COVID, there was nothing that we could do until we started working together, looking out for each other, sharing our goods and services. Even, and when I say goods and services, I saw people, just giving medicine and just helping one another in a lot of ways. Stay in touch, listen to your law enforcement, take care of your neighbor and yourself and your family, and really just be very diligent about strange things that might be unprecedented, that you see is nothing is a bad thing. I think it's just the way to report it, right? So if you think that there's someone in your neighborhood that might not be stable or might not be common, call the police. Call them and let them know, and let your neighbors know, front, side, and back. And those kinds of things, I think, will help us to be safer and feel safer in such a volatile time that we are uncertain about how long we're gonna be in this conflict. I understand that President Trump extended a hand and the man said, no. He wants to continue to fight. He's not.
Well, he started it.
Just go away. And so, right? And so we don't know. So, but God does. And so we just have to be ready for whatever it is that we need to do.
If I could just add, I know that, so a lot of people in the community, you all help us do the job better. And I know that a lot of you may have seen, the recent, murder. I believe his name, Brother Gabe. And I can tell you that I was one of the first on the scene. By the time I got there, we knew the tag number because there was a neighbor, people who worked with us. We were able to put that information out there and everything went very fast. So, and this is just to let you guys know that we have things in place that when the officers are dispatched to an area, we are seeking cameras, witnesses, we're getting the information so we can share it, so we can do what we're trained to do. So know and have confidence that we are here. We're here because we want to be here, and that we are held accountable to make sure we know and we're trained if anything happens. And if anything happens, there's eyes above us that helps us to do the job better. So I know right now it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but it was beautiful to see how you all started out the meeting, and know that we're taking everything serious. There's meetings. I've been here since 11 o'clock this morning, and I started at 5 p.m. But it was about making sure that events that are coming up, we know what's going on, we have everything in place, and so there's no surprises, right? So just to let you guys know that we're actively here, and even when you go to bed tonight, we're here till 4:30 in the morning. So if anything happens, the officers are here around the clock. If you see anything, please, no call is a silly call. We will come out, we will check it, we would shut down the street, we would shut down the blocks and blocks to make sure that you all are safe and whatever resources we don't have, we have what's called mutual aid. So the county's coming, Miramar is coming, and we do that for them too. Okay?
I just want to say, as a daughter of a police officer, although when it hit the news that you guys had caught the guy, you guys had been caught the guys days prior to, and it didn't come out, I just want to say kudos to you guys for that, because that death was very personal to a lot of us. We all knew him very well, and you guys went really, really hard, and you guys apprehended that guy. And I just want to say thank you and kudos, because those stories don't always come out. But although his family is grieving, you guys, God is not a happy ending, but at least you know the perpetrator is behind bars. So thank you so much.
When I got on the scene, our officers were bare hands. It was fair because they encountered him at the Wawa every morning between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning. And that's one of the things we're working on, getting the chaplains to come in and speak to our officers, because they knew him very well. And so that just to let you know, our officers, we train on getting to know your community. Stop, talk, have conversations, because you never know.
I have a quick question. After the incident that took place at Florida Memorial, I know the residents who live in that area were concerned that there was a lack of police visibility. Has there been an increase in visibility and all?
Lights on, I can tell you, it's a private institution, so as far as when you're called, you come in, because it's not like outside, but we have been actively driving around, making sure that everything is in place. And there's things I cannot say because it's an active investigation,
Right.
everything hasn't gone through, but we have things in place that when things happen, we're able to go, we have a real-time crime center where we get to see things. As long as the call comes in, and sometimes before the call comes in, we have detectives that are watching. So there's a lot of things that, and you're giving that into, that help us move fast. But a lot of us who are in certain areas, you might not know it's us because we're unmarked,
Right.
but we are driving around. When incidents happen in certain areas, we have what's called watch orders, and you all can request a watch order. And this is an email that goes out, so everyone knows this area, you need to be watching for this, and we go over it in roll call, and we have officers that go, that actually have to tell dispatch, I'm going to this area because of this, but we've been in the area, and me personally, I drive through because it's amazing to see how much work is.
So just to follow up, how do you request a watch order? What's the process of that?
You can call in and request, you can see an officer and
Okay.
ask for a watch order, and then we do it on our own. For example, if we respond to a location, and we know that there's things going on, and it might happen after we leave, that officer puts a watch order out, sends it out to everyone on the TV side, and so once we see it, we know when we come in, we have to go in that area.
Okay. All right, thanks.
You know, and I would like to say this, because I also work with important. One of the things that's kind of important about almost anything, the one time was every year they do the Florida Women. And they had a couple of presidents come through who really started to turn that institution around and to create a kind of more collegiate environment. And I think working with our police officers and different things like that, they have really squashed a lot of the foolishness that was not only going on at Florida Memorial, but also at the Omega Center. They were working hand in hand to ensure that the parties did not get out of hand or any of those kinds of things. And so now when we go to years before we have those kind of problems, years elapsed before you went into those kinds of criminal activities or I'm going to say where there appears to be a little bit of lawlessness. And so I think that when we take a look at it, not that I would dismiss any type of crime, but I want you to be aware that our police department, along with Florida Memorial, they've been working extremely hard to keep that campus up, to continue to work through the issues that they may have, as well as to get rid of all issues. And so it's unfortunate that it happens at our colleges, because it's not just Florida Memorial, but it happens at a lot of colleges across the nation, right? And so we are constantly, when we're dealing with young adults, wanting to make sure that they transition into full adulthood, but they do it in a mature way, right? And so I don't want to make this about Florida Memorial, because it isn't singularly about Florida Memorial. It is about an institution that's that's continuing to get better, and that institutions around the nation have issues like this, that they have to seize the opportunity to ensure that those students that are there are carrying themselves appropriately, that law enforcement is a part of how they govern, and that the community itself is also a safer community. And I'm confident that that area over there is becoming more and more safe.
I think I can but we haven't, in that same area, more speeding. We had 2 accidents last week.
What area?
Near Florida Memorial, like we call it the Venetian Garden. But it was a hit and run, on 40th and 160. I think 160. And, on Friday, it was like a car that caught on fire on 165th and 39th from speeding. So just from the activity, we had not to make it about Florida Memorial, but some years ago it was a hit and run in that area as well, right? So we're seeing more as the congestion builds up, where people go through the residential areas to cut the traffic, and they're speeding in the streets that don't have stop signs, you can go straight through. It's like a racetrack. So if there's a way, because we've seen it like in the same week, the activity increase of true accidents, like I said, a
fire, then a hit and run stretching like 5 blocks. I don't know if that's like a watch order, but just a flag it for you all.
And thank you for providing me with that information, because what that does, it helps me when I go back, when I leave here, I can tell the sergeant to send someone, in that area tonight and turn the lights on. So with the community action team, they are in different types of vehicles, they're like in Mustangs. And we were intentional with the type of vehicles and the speed to make sure that we can get the people that are doing things that they're not supposed to. So even the type of vehicles they have, they're unmarked, but I will let that sergeant know too, to saturate that area. I'm in an unmarked, and sometimes it's unbelievable to see what people do, and then a lot of times they don't even live in Miami Gardens. Because our residents, so, but we have things that we stop them, we cite them, and everything else. Unfortunately, it's not just here, people are very reckless. It's amazing because in a vehicle, I think people don't notice how much damage, until it happens to them, and then they lose a loved one. But we are aware, and that's one of the things we look at the time frame, with the reports, and we look at the time that accidents are happening, and that's why the community action team works, I believe, between 2 and midnight, because those were the times that we saw things were happening. But I will let the guys know tonight to be in that area.
Yeah, it's like rush hour, both accidents, like
And you
between
said
3 and
around
5.
3,
Between 3?
3 and 5?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll tell the afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
Nope.
All right, so you wanna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Good evening, everybody. Guys, we're gonna try to say, good evening, everybody.
Good night.
My name is Cedric DeVoe. I'm one of the code enforcement supervisors for the city of Miami Gardens. I do not have a report for you this evening. I did attend you guys meeting in February. The last time I was here was in January. We had a different set of concerns at that time. Most of those have since come and gone. Hence, one of the big questions was the college football playoff and the championship. That was over there where the parking lots were gonna be, how we were gonna matriculate these different things. The last meeting I attended, all of those things have come and gone. So what my counterpart spoke to you about, or any concerns that you have levied to her in the month of February for the meeting, I'm not aware of. But I'll gladly take any questions or concerns you have at the end of the meeting, if you wish to speak to me directly. However, I'm always going to foster having all the information come from one source. So I would suggest that you give all your concerns to Councilwoman's legislative assistant Jamal, so that I can get all of them at one time, and I can provide all of that feedback to her at one time. But aside from that, if anyone has a simple question, right, I'll gladly take it. Other than that, it's good to see everybody. Happy New Year, if I haven't seen you this year already. What now? Anyone have a question or concern right now? Sure, ma'am.
So, I've sent in multiple complaints regarding chickens and roosters. And, I had a supervisor come out, but as far as them doing anything else, I haven't received any updates or anything. And it's has been really bad. I don't know if any other neighbors are saying anything, but they also caused accidents. Now, I've witnessed one of them as well. And I'm right there on 151st and 32nd Avenue.
First question that person should have asked, whomever what you spoke to before, is there some type of coop or mechanism that they're housing or storing? And I say that to make sure that we all understand. Wawa was mentioned earlier, unfortunately, with the incident that happened with Gabe, but if you go in there and fuel your vehicle, you see these animals walking around freely. So if you don't know of a particular home or residence that has a coop, the old saying is, the chickens come home to roost. So So wherever that coop is, they're coming home to roost. If you have that address where there's an actual coop, and I can see it from where I can legally be. Okay, so, see me after the meeting, so I can have the address, I can look and see what the status is of, and I can be updated right now. Okay? Anyone else have a question, concern? Ladies, nobody? Well, it was good to see you all again. And as the police officer said, the captain said, councilman said, there's a lot of things going on in the world today. Please be vigilant. Please stay aware of your surroundings. Take care of your people. Check on your people. Love on your people. We know not today, nor the hour. So see them, check on them. If you don't hear from them, call them. Go by. It's okay. Make sure everybody's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so as far as, our meeting is concerned, if you have any concerns that you would like to, that we need to address or to express, please feel free to do so now. Yes.
I have a concern, I just wanted to know, I know that, city manager, Benson, he usually sends out his quarterly reports that, states that when he communicates with the council during, just before the council meeting is something to address the agenda. So I'm just trying to find out, is there anything coming up on the agenda in March that maybe you need to, maybe let us be aware of, that maybe something is coming up, so we'll get blindsided when we see agenda come out and we say, well, we didn't hear about this during council meeting. We don't get town hall meeting, we remind us. So, you know, anything that's coming up?
Let's be clear about what the process is. Generally, right, when council members put things on the agenda, they put it on the agenda, and we don't know what they're gonna put on the agenda. Because we're not allowed to discuss that, we want to know. Because that would not be an assumption, okay? So when the city manager does a quarterly report, that report is historical. In other words, it's already happened. There may be some things that he may bring to the agenda. We don't always know when that is going to happen. We have an agenda briefing most of us. Once the agenda is produced by the clerk, then we meet with the city manager prior to the meeting, which is usually a few days before. And we do our homework from there. So we're unable a lot of times to really tell you within a few days what all comprehensively is going to be on the agenda. Most of us know what we're proud of, but we don't know what the other council is. Okay?
With that being said, what about the sunshine thing that's supposed to happen from February to meeting? Has that been scheduled?
Well, what has happened is some dates have been proffered. Some dates have been proffered by the clerk, and it is being sent, has been sent out to us. And we will select the dates and the times that we are available so that a consensus can be determined, and then they will set the date from there. So we don't control that. That is something the clerk's office. Okay. Any other questions? Y'all all right? Okay. Yes.
I have a question. Are the speed zones different in front of schools? Because I see the city, but I didn't see a sign, I think it's like 12 noon.
Yeah.
And I was going 40. And I was ticketed because I should have been going 30.
Yeah.
And I thought the speed limit in the neighborhood was 40. It was 30?
Yes.
30.
It has been totally inconsistent. And what we
I
have,
just see, so I went back, I made sure I was going 40 this time, and I was looking for a sign, but there is no signage. I was on, 207, and I made a right on 207 headed east, going towards up in your park. So it's a lot of signs over there, but nothing says 30 miles per hour is the limit. So I just wish that we could have better signage.
so I have I have had a lot of issues with the city manager regarding the inconsistency of the speed limits. And so what happened was, I believe it might have been, don't quote me on this, Julian as a result of a lot of the, donuts, where people were speeding and circling and all that kind of stuff. Proper that we put in place speed zones. Speed zones that were designed as slowing down a lot of the speeding in a lot of our neighborhoods that we were experiencing. They were coming on back streets, they were coming all kinds of night, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So as a way to mitigate that, especially in the school zone areas, but that's not the only focus. But definitely in the school zone areas, we had a lot of residents who were complaining about, number one, the traffic, but also about picking up their children, people speeding down those areas, the whole nine. And while there was a speed zone, at that time, the officer had to be present in order to catch it. So what was profit is that we get a electronic, thing to monitor camera, to monitor the speeds, and the speed zones were not just with the school zone. And that's a lot of where the confusion started.
Yeah.
Because the vast majority of us were looking at the school zone signs.
Right.
And then we were not paying attention that a lot of the school zone, not the school zone, but the speed zone signs started significantly earlier. So I think they started at 7, 7:15, maybe
It depends.
6:45. And then they might go to 2 and then pick right back up again at 3:45 or something along those lines. And people became very confused because there were conflicting times within the school zone. And so the tickets started to come. And so what we had to do is when I sat down with the manager and I said, something's got to be done about this. And so they got together, our city, along with the Miami-Dade County School Board, because they regulate some signs, and the county, and they regulate some signs. And so what we've been trying to do is get a uniform time zone, that all of these types of speed restrictions can overlap one another. And that the residents, not only in Miami Gardens, but all over the county, this is happening, can get something that's a little bit more consistent. And they told me that they came to an agreement with some things, and those signs are going to be a little bit more uniform in the coming months. How long? I don't know, because how government is.
We got $100 sign. I'm driving slow now.
Yeah. I'm always pushing back. Yes.
So when you say uniform, what does that entail? I'm just curious.
What I'm gonna say to you is, I wasn't in the meeting,
Okay,
and I don't wanna say something that I quote inappropriately.
okay.
But that was the word that was given to me, that they agreed, these 3 entities, the county, day schools, along with other cities that were having similar problems, in a way that they could create the time zone so that they weren't conflicted. You follow me? So in lieu of us going in middle school, and middle school begins at 8:45, and you go into some areas, you got a high school that begins at 6:45. And then you've got the middle school, the elementary, it is another time. So what they're saying is maybe what we should do is try to get a uniform time that allows for it all to kind of be in one. The particulars of it, I wouldn't want to quote that because I haven't studied it.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
They were just trying to say, either the lights is flashing, is either the light flashing or the camera. So when you're going through the school zone, make sure you just go through at 30 miles an hour because the camera is always running. The light may be stopped, but the school zone, it's still going. So it's either 1 or 2. So if you don't see the light is flashing, always remember the camera is all the way on the side and they're constantly taking pictures. Your car sometimes do say, oh, you're approaching camera, but just always mindful that we're going through the school zone.
Okay, so in my situation, there was no flashing light, and it was at 12 noon. So the school zone for that
Camera's
particular
still running.
school was from 8 to 11:30.
That's what I'm
So
just.
now I know If I can,
All
when I'm
throughout
trying to
the
block,
day.
if there's a school, break it down to 20.
Yeah, all throughout the day,
No.
one or the other.
Well, here's
That-
what I'd
it
like
doesn't
to do.
run like
I'd
that.
you to do one thing at a time, so that everybody can be heard.
If the light is flashing, that's 15 miles an hour. Yes. That is not 30. Exactly. If the light is not flashing, whenever you go through the school zone, that's 30 miles an hour.
But you're getting tickets when the light is not flashing. I was traveling at 12 noon. No lights are, that's lunchtime. All the kids are in school.
It's one going 30 miles an hour.
Yes, so now I know.
Go 20, okay? We got one here and then we'll come back to you.
I was on 22nd Avenue, right about where your little church. There's no sign that saying going 30, 35 miles an hour. But when I called the number, the lady told me, I said, how did you determine that I was speeding? He said, there's someone that sits in Sanford, Florida, that watches those cameras and determines that he was speeding. That's how I got my
Oh, it's too tight. They got you twice.
But at the same time, it's like 11:30.
And let me tell you, it's shocking to get the speed, tickets. But I do say that one of the products of it is that we are having less accidents. One of the products of it is that we're having less, conflict on the road. You know, because when people are speeding, you know, it really causes a lot of anger, road rage. So for us, it's much easier if the police were here, they will tell you that when they find somebody speeding, usually that's an indicator of some kind of crime. And so those kinds of things help to heighten. When everybody else is doing the limit, you know when somebody's going 10 miles faster than you.
Yes.
Right? So all of that begins to make us all feel, and we really are safer. Like my mom doesn't go out on the road until after 9 o'clock. Because she doesn't want to be in the traffic, she wants to drive her own kind of speed that she feels most comfortable doing so, and she gets back in at a certain time. She doesn't want to be in the traffic, so hers is 9 to 2 or 1 unless it's an appointment. But either way, all of what you're seeing was designed to make the road safe. Because at one time, our community were doing it and we found a way to deal with it, yes.
So I'm just gonna add to this that even though you're driving through an area at 12 o'clock, the cameras, like Angela stated, the cameras are consistently running. There's signs that'll say from 7:30 to 4 p.m. So when it's flashing, it's the school zone, the 15 miles an hour. After that, you can go up to 11 miles. So if it's 30, if you go 41, you're gonna get a $100 ticket. So that's something that I think there was a lot of confusion because they didn't really explain it. And it's a state law. So it's not just Miami-Dade County. It's not just Miami Gardens. It's a state of Florida law passed by the governor 2 years ago. And so it implemented here and in some other cities gradually. And so just to be on the safe side, if you see a 30, you know, just ease yourself. If you feel like you want to hit 40, maybe you won't, just don't do it. Don't do it because there are cameras, because even right here, right, you have Brentwood Elementary, but if you go down 189th Street, there's a 7-day Adventist school. They may not have the flashing lights, but they have a flock camera right in front of that school, right there, Maranatha. That is a camera right there. So you don't see it. There's nothing flashing because it's on that little road, it's on 189, but there's a camera there, and you can get a ticket right on that road. So just to be on the safe side, and for your, you know, just pass it along, just, you know, you see 40, just go 35. Save yourself the headache. Just ease your way on out.
You know, so you know, some of the things that I think we are experiencing with the speed is good. And then some of it is such but hopefully it'll be able to come together and make it what we need it to be. And that's the safe side we run now, right? Yes.
Just one more statement. For those that drive night or early in the morning, be careful because you have students, either adults, their clothing are black, they're dark, and their school is dark. So please be very careful, you can go sit someone, everything is dark and you can't, they don't have no reflectors anywhere. So be careful, because this happens.
Yes, it does.
Okay, all right. Any more questions, any more concerns? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I just wanted to know, I know that you guys did a ribbon cutting of a facility off of 27th Avenue, right off of the Palmetto. Can you elaborate on, because I couldn't understand what services that was going to be provided or what?
In front of the Shell station?
No, the house today, the house today.
Yeah, she said facility.
Yeah, it's the house, it's the house.
Yeah, infield housing, that project there was, led by Councilman Reggie Leon. And it was, led by him, but it was fostered, if I'm not mistaken, by Oliver Gilbert. And one of the things that they have been trying to do is to take those spaces that are owned by the county, use it to put those houses back on there. You know, like if you go into some other, when I say put those houses back on there, that means to rebuild housing. You know, and so some of the houses, like there's a place, not too far, it's over there in our, down there. Right now, 47th Avenue, I think it is.
Yeah.
That kind of takes houses that would look something like trailers and put them there and build walls all around them, right? Which is a less expensive way of building, but a very affordable way of doing it. And that is what that Hempfield project was. So lots of times, those of us, some of you may have family members that live in houses that to renovate it, it would not be cost effective. There are sometimes lots that have been empty for years because no one can afford to come in and rebuild on that land, especially in minority-related communities. And so this infill housing is meant to take this land that we have, that the county owns, and use it and build houses that are affordable for families. And so for the house that opened today, I think it was a single mother with a couple of children that qualified for it and is going to be using that home. And so you're gonna see, hopefully, several more projects like that. You know, there's another thing that they're looking at, and that's called accessory dwelling units. And with accessory dwelling units, you know, in some areas like Rolling Oaks, where they have large properties, you can build a house on the back of it, right? And they call them accessory dwelling units, but a long time ago, they used to be called the maid's quarters, or in-law quarters, where you had a one-bedroom, single-family kind of thing, and people were able to live behind you. And so, as the cost of buying a house becomes more and more expensive, people are looking for ways to reduce it, especially those who own homes and do not want to continue to maintain it, but don't want to move. So what they do is that they say, I'll live in an accessory dwelling unit on my own property so that I can maintain it there, and I'll let somebody live up front. Because people don't want to sell, they don't want to leave their community, but it's become a little bit more than what they can handle. So it ends up being that people come in, they don't necessarily buy the house, they lease it. The person continues to receive rent from it. They live in the back, and it goes on from there. So those accessory dwelling units, things like this type of housing, are alternatives that are being explored so that people, one, don't have to go into, you know, as senior citizens go into other places. And not only senior citizens, here's the other caveat. Even the young people don't have to move out. They just go in the back. You understand? And they don't have to spend $3,000 a month for an apartment. That makes it very difficult to ultimately become a homeowner. Do you follow what I'm saying? And so those are ideas that people are trying out to see how effective that can be for helping the young as well as the older seniors. Okay? Yes.
I'm glad that the city of Miami Gardens is considering different type of houses. Because I know that our community is actually changing, and I know I don't want to offend anyone, in the Hispanic community, they always have like lots of relatives, and they would have like different things, like another house in the back, and they could rent. because I was telling my friend here, I don't think I could have, afforded that house right there across from Betty Ferguson Center where I always complain about breaking in. Because, like, I bought that house at $99,000. How am I gonna get a house at $99,000?
And so, and you know, like, I think that what we have to do, we have to really talk to the young people in our community. I'll just share this story with you. There was a young man who had gotten married, and he and his wife, they were looking. They had not gotten married, they were getting married. And he and his wife were looking for a place here in Miami Gardens. And it's, you know, just too much money, he couldn't afford it. And so they went to this house in the northern area, and the wife opened the door to show him around the house and whatever. And when he asked about how much the house was, he said he just couldn't afford it. And so the husband, who was in the basement area, came up and he said, you want to buy this house? And the boy, the young man said, yeah. And he said, I tell you what I'm going to do. He said, I'm going to finance it, and I'm going to sell it to you. And so he created favorable terms for the young man to be able to buy the house from him. He said he would have never been able to qualify for that with the bank. But because the man owned the house, he became the what? Bank. He just put the terms in, had mortgage in, said, I'm gonna sell it to you like this here. I'm gonna sell it to you for this. He said, because I'm not selling it to nobody else who don't look like you. And so I'm gonna create favorable terms for you. So it's called owner's financing. And you are able to go ahead and do that. And he could have a 30-year mortgage. Now, you know, under our current president, he said we want 50-year mortgage. We'll never be able to pay it. And so you'll be in servitude for the rest of your life. So when we take a look at Miami Gardens, we have to look at what kind of legacy projects we want to be able to have and how you want to be able to have things done. The most powerful thing that you guys have is that you are old. And you can will it to be done the way you want it to be done. You can will it to be done the way you want it to be done. And so you might think that you can, but you see an attorney. You know, one of the things my granddaddy used to say is, he said, the more educated y'all get, the dumber you get. You know, because you don't really know anything. And I tell the story all the time that he could not read nor write, but he would always ask me and my sisters questions. And when we didn't know, he said, but you a school teacher, how you can't answer the question? I said, well, granddaddy, just because I'm a school teacher don't mean I'm not. And he said, but yeah, you're supposed to be able to find out. And what I realized from that is that, you know, we might not know how, but we are intelligent enough to find out. We can find the answers for ourselves and be able to make sound decisions about how we want to do things. And I would go a little bit step further and say to you that there are so many African American women who are out here that are property owners. And they are the owners of so much wealth. And it's not just in dollars, it's in the acquisition of the land. And so when you can take some of the property that we own and put accessory dwelling in the back where 3 other people can live, and your house paid off, and they pay you $1,000 or $1,200, and you ain't got to be scared because you follow what I'm saying? You are now creating using your own home as a wealth maker for you, and then you are no longer on a fixed income, but rather you are now a property manager or whatever. Y'all know what that sounds. And so the reason why I say that, and then I'm gonna do this, okay? Like the one thing that's valuable about the Miami Gardens community is that we have yards. They are making so many zero lot lines, where people, property, they barely have a bedroom as a backyard. And we have yards that are full, they have beautiful trees in them, they have fruits on them. You know, it's amazing when you walk around and you start looking up, you say, well, dog, this is a mango tree. You know, you cut down the grapefruit yet? There's some people that grow the fruit, you know, I'm gonna say this, y'all make me talk too long, but this is what I'm gonna say. When I was a little girl, my mama would tell us, say, y'all go outside and play. I wouldn't be outside all day, playing, then you won't come home. And when I realized, we were eating off the trees. We didn't even come back until it almost got dark. Because it was the coconuts, it was the mangoes, it was the avocados, it was the Chinese plums, it was the cherry tree. We were eating that organic food that we pay a lot of money for, but we were eating off of the land. And so when we take a look at our children, we cut down these fruit trees that have been there for hundreds of years. And then there's no food at all. And we plant a tree that doesn't bear fruit. You know, and it makes no sense. And then we go to Costco and buy that. You know, and the truth be told is, I think that our souls and our spirits were made strong because we were tending the land. You know, we were really, really toiling in the soil, producing something, talking to it, knowing that it wasn't doing well, knowing it required fertilizing, and it became a reciprocation to that, you know, we came from the soil and we shall go back to it. But in the meantime, we can also tend it. We can take care of it. So it's the same thing with our children. We're going somewhere. It's the same thing with our children. And our children are not only the children that we give birth to, because we don't know what child is going to change the world. Amen. It's the same thing like when we look at Jesse Jackson. He changed the world. And he was somebody's child, but he impacted somebody else's child through being able to say something simple like, I am somebody. And so when we are working together as a community, part of what we have to do is say, you know what, I'm going to leave something, I'm going to help somebody, I'm going to make sure, because it's a legacy going forward. Like one of the things that scares me a lot is like, will my son and my grandchild be able to have food? You know, like how are they going to be taken care of? You know, my granddaddy, when he came from Georgia, he came here saying, you know what, let me tell you something, I can't read and write, but my grandchildren and my children can't grow up in Georgia, because that place there will kill you dead. You understand what I'm saying? And so he came here looking for a better life, just like so many of the Hispanics. They came here looking for a better life. The Bahamians came here looking for a better life, and when they were forced to come on over here and build up all the land and make it where South Florida making everybody else leave, and the land here is worth millions because of the soil that they toiled. And so what I'm saying to you, we've messed around here and done the same thing in Miami Gardens. And that is that Miami Gardens, what people want to say is junk, is one of the best places in the world to live. Because we got backyards, we got trees and fruit, we got a whole lot of stuff just right here. And so now if it wasn't good, then they wouldn't be buying up the houses. If it wasn't wonderful, they wouldn't be around here telling you, they're calling you, you can't even watch the sports show in the morning because they start calling you, you ready to say it? And so if they're offering you 500,000, then what is it going to be worth?
$1 million.
Yeah, what is it going to be worth? And so we've got to be smarter than the man who was cutting grass and knew more than the girl who had a degree. So what I'm saying to you is that there has to be some way that we all kind of decide. One, what is really important? What's really important? You know, instead of fighting one another, let's fight for together. And then this will close. So when I got elected, I wasn't elected but 2 months and then COVID hit. Never thought that I would have lost my sister, my daddy, you know, just so many people in my family that we would lose them. And we came out of that thing, and it wasn't, we just didn't know the trajectory of our life. But we ain't been the same since. You know, our church is gone. You know, when you go there, ain't nobody worshiping. You know, there ain't no people there, everybody home watching it online. You know, there's a human side to us that we've lost. And I think that, you know, that there has to be a way that we can figure out and begin to just kind of love each other differently. Because we are uncertain. There's an uncertainty about tomorrow. And so we've got to really kind of seize the moments that we have together and make it nostalgic in so many ways. Because these are good times. right? But you going into the stores and the food ain't what it used to be. You know, it's not as much out there, and what's out there you can barely afford. And so we're gonna have to really reach back and reach into our souls and love each other, stick together, you know, and pray one for another. So again, I'm gonna say this here, and I'm gonna really tell you where I'm going. So then I saw one of the officers today. I don't want to start crying. And I love him so much. And you know what he told me? He said, what? He said, what he told me?
What he told you?
He said, Councilwoman, I'm being deployed. And when I looked at it, I said, because when we are going to war, you don't know. You don't know, but it's just like in one moment we go to that, we wake up, and it's changed. And we're assuming that this thing here is going to remain the same, and it isn't. So we've got to get back to a place. We got to get back to a place where we pray and vote for them. We pray for our country. We love each other. And stay helpful one to another. Because this thing here is real. It's real. And he is somebody's child. He's somebody's brother. He's somebody's husband. He's a lot. And when I looked at it and I said, he was here keeping us safe. And now he got to go and keep the country safe. So, you know, we're gonna have Jazz in the Gardens. And you know, as we do it in the spirit of our former mayor, Shirley Gibson, because she believed that Jazz in the Gardens was gonna be a way to bring us all together. And she said, you know, I want y'all to understand that when you come into Miami Gardens, not the city of Miami, but Miami Gardens, that this place is a place of good people. And we can come together and we can fellowship, we can have jazz under the stars. And so she wanted to take that community, instead of us being known as this hellbound place with violent crime, that we would come together just like this, every month, then tomorrow you got something else to do, and you don't really have to leave your city. This is home, and we feel all right here. That was her dream, and she said, listen, if you give us the right to self-govern, we'll keep our streets clean, we'll keep our streets safe. So like, when the reason why I say that to you, the reason why I'm saying this to you, because sometimes, when my mama used to tell me about getting dressed, and she said, take that off. I used to get mad. What you talking about take it off? You done got on, you don't want me to wear certain things. Sometimes you got to be criticized. It ain't easy. It's constructive. And it makes you mad. And it does a lot of things to you. But you got to be willing to come down a little bit and say, okay, now, I don't know everything. but still be willing to do the work. Still be willing to say, there's more than one way I can get down 27th Avenue. There's more than one way that I can get over the 441. We can have the same goals, we can take different routes. And it doesn't mean that anything or anyone is wrong. We're just going to go at it in a different way, at a different speed, in a different time. So again, I say to you that when we take a look at this place that we call home, the one thing that we got is that we have each other, we have a love for the Lord, we have a history, and we are good people. At the very core of who we are good people. And if we can remember that and continue to work together, despite whether we agree or not, we have to say, I ain't going nowhere. I'm going to stay right here, and we're going to work this out. And I see the ladies back there with her hand up there.
Just one little comment.
Okay.
You talk about vegetables and growing. I just want folks in this room to know the city has gardens. You guys need to take advantage of it. There's a garden literally right there. Free vegetables. You guys don't take advantage of it. Maybe you don't know. The city does a terrible job of at notifying, notifying the residents. I'm just saying, right here.
Rolling Oaks is where, when you go see the lady that is there,
Lauren. Lauren,
she is incredible.
yeah,
She graduated from FAMU.
yeah.
She's a big and I took the herbs and I took them home. I washed with the rosemary. I mean, it was an incredible thing. Now, sometimes I'm full of stories, but I'm gonna tell you one last story. So my father-in-law, he was out of Tallahassee. Him and his daddy, he was like 10 of them. And,
My thing is frozen.
and so he had to raise the children up, and all of them knew how to farm.
Okay, there we go.
So when he moved down here, because he was in the military as well, they moved down to Richmond Heights. And my father-in-law never stopped gardening. He would grow his own collard greens, tomatoes, and beans, and all of this kind of stuff. And so he passed away, and he left the house to my son. And so I was in the backyard at the house, and the Spirit of the Lord came to me and said, "You go tell your son."
That's, good and darn well.
It's in the ground already. Not to run now. It is in the ground already. Because my father-in-law left the seeds in the ground. And all you got to do is water and tend to it, and it'll come up. You understand? See, so when I'm saying that, Shirley done left the seeds in the ground. And we've got to nurture it. And if we get caught up, we'll be crazy putting all kind of foolishness, concrete over the ground that got the food and the seeds in. You with me? Yeah. And all of the hard work in terms of making it fertile was done and left by him for the next generation.
Yes.
To come in and do what they need to do with it. And so when Costco ain't got no food, it's in the ground already. When Dixie and Publix make it unaffordable, it's in the ground. I don't even know why I'm moving. But what I want y'all to do, I always tell you that before we leave, a man needs to pray with us.
All right, we out.